Well, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. Hey guys, before we go any further, please subscribe. I would love to have you here on a regular basis. Also, hit that like button. It helps the channel in a number of different ways. So, what's on the table? Well, I am a fan of Miguron knives. I have known Sam, that is the designer of Miguron knives, for a little over 2 years, year and a half, something like that. And in that time, I've had opportunity to talk to him quite a bit. Two of my favorite knives, the Miguron Centurion and the Miguron Prayer, which unfortunately I don't have here today because they are currently off being reviewed by other channels, came out in 19. And those are fantastic. They're big. You can tell they're kind of first designs, but they are very cool and very interesting. Sam, the guy that runs Miguron Knives, has been working on some new stuff for quite some time, and the first of that new generation of knives has landed, and what you get is this. This is the Miguron Pagos. Now, Pagos is Greek for ice, and I know that because I named this knife. You know, we had opportunity to talk about potential names, and I thought, the way this looks with the fat carbon fiber and the blue highlights, that this would be a good name for this knife. So that's what we went with. I'm excited about that. This is much smaller than his previous offerings. We'll get to that in just a minute, but man, is it just so much more refined. This is an excellent knife. Now, I told him that if he sent this to me and I didn't think these things of it, I wouldn't review it, or at least I wouldn't give it a full review, because I don't want to do damage to somebody's business if I don't have to. But I'll tell you, I have zero complaints about this knife. It is really nice. Now, you can open it two ways. It is a front flipper, which is very cool. The action is very good. And of course, it has really good thumb studs, which I like quite a bit too. The blade is bead blasted, almost cloud. I don't know how to explain it. It is a very nice bead blast. And the grind, let me get that to shine a little bit for you guys. The grind is perfect on both sides. Has a lovely fuller. Plenty of belly up here at the front. It is a very thin knife. Relatively thin M390 blade stock. Comes down to a very slicey cutting edge. The handle is relatively neutral in shape, and that means that even though it is a smaller knife, I still get a remarkably comfortable grip on this thing. I am very glad to see this knife has come out as well as it has. You know, being involved in the creation of a knife, even in some small degree, means that you get kind of committed to it, and I was, as with all new things, concerned that it wouldn't be what I was going to hope it was, what I was hoping it would be, and yet it is. It is beautiful. Now, these come in at under $200, about 189 bucks on Sam's Miguron website. You can get them on AliExpress, and very shortly they will be also be available on White Mountain Knives. So that is very cool. So what do you get for your $189? Well, as I mentioned, you get an M390 blade with a just gorgeous look to it. I love this fuller, right? It is beautiful. Everything is chamfered, so there's no sharp edges, except right where you want one to be. Has a really nice sharpening choil that works, of course, beautifully. You get titanium thumb studs. You get a titanium pivot. Excuse me, a steel pivot. But look at the steel pivot. But look at the way that he has laser etched the Miguron M into that. It's really nice. Now, the previous versions, particularly the Prayer, it was milled in and it was very sharp. He has completely rectified that. You get a very nice pocket clip. Nothing really to shout about, but it works very, very well. You get the carbon fiber inlays. Very simple design, which is the pivot and a tail screw that holds the backspacer, which is also carbon fiber in place, and the pocket clip. There's no rock and no wiggle anywhere. This thing came wonderfully solid. It is a relatively thin build, as you can see. And it is, as I don't know if I mentioned this, it's a frame lock. We are locked up relatively early. We're locked up at just about 20%, which is fine because the lockup is exceptionally good. This is a great knife. The overall length of this knife, as I said, is a smaller knife. Right? You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Excuse me, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and a little over 7 1/4. Right? If this is 7.5 right here, probably 7.4 inches overall. The blade is just at 3 inches of cutting on 3 1/4 inches of M390. The grip area from just behind this space right here is 3.5. So, you guys know I have a 3 1/4 inch grip, right? So my finger does come to the end of the knife, but because of this wonderfully neutral shape and everything again is chamfered out, it doesn't matter. Very good grip, right? Very locked in. And of course you can hold it in a number of ways. It's very slicey. I know I've said that a couple of times, but I really want to get that through. Because Sam decided to go with reasonably thin blade stock, this comes down to a very nice edge. There's always a question with Chinese-made knives, and this is, who made it? Well, this is not a factory you've heard of. It's just one that Sam happens to be part of and knows. And so they've really kind of shown their stuff here. Somebody told me when I posted a picture of this in a What's in the Pocket, or a video, excuse me, that this looks, like it was made by Riot. Well, it sort of feels that way too. It is, God, the action on this is so good. It's not slam shut because it's a light blade, but just a little wiggle and it drops right down. It is really nice to carry and really nice to use. Oh, I got a little schmutz on the handle. I've been carrying this thing pretty much ever since I got it on and off. It's a reasonably light knife, right? Comfortable in hand, easy to carry. It's a good pocketable size. Now, excuse my arm. Let's do our standard size comparisons. Here it is against the Rat Model 1, and as you can see, it is considerably smaller than that. Let's move this down a little bit. Here's the Rat Model 2, and as you can see, very similar in size, a little bit bigger than the Rat 2. You get a lot more cutting, a little more handle, but because this is such a neutral handle shape, I don't find the Rat 2 comfortable at all. My pinky falls off the end. This is just not a knife for me. This, on the other hand, is. Let's do it up against something with a little more common size. This is the Presidio 2, the Mini, which is, in length at least, and blade dimension, handle size and all that, very similar to the Bug Out. You can see that these knives are very, very similar, right? You get just, you know what, this is probably 3.1 inches of cutting. Yeah, the Miguron's 3.1 inches of cutting. You get just a hair more cutting, virtually the same amount of handle. If you like the Bug Out, the way it feels in your hand, you're gonna love the Pagos here. And then of course here it is against, well, we'll just do it anyway. Here it is against the full-size Presidio 2, and as you can see, it's just dwarfed. Nick Shabazz would likely say that the Pagos here is a really nicely sized knife, and he's not wrong. I've been saying lately that I'm trying to be less negative towards smaller knives. The truth is, as I said before in my videos, it's not that I don't like them, it's just that many of them, stuff like this, are made in such a way that I can't comfortably hold them. But there are some, the Mini Presidio 2, the Bug Out, stuff like that, that are actually very comfortable in my hand. They're just smaller than what I normally carry. The Pagos falls into that category. It is smaller than what I normally carry, but really exceptionally well done. Now, I'm sure there are some reviewers out there who like to pick things apart. So let's take a minute and see if there's anything to really pick apart. There might be a little gapping around the carbon fiber. Riot would make sure that every possible edge was completely smooth. Well, and while you can't feel it, you can see there's a little space. Now, I don't have any voids in the carbon fiber that I have, but like I said, like right here, it may not come into this corner quite fully. But I'd like to remind you that, knives like Riot cost $300 and more. This is under $200 for titanium and M390 and ceramic bearings and carbon fiber and all of the cool stuff that you have come to expect from a high-end knife without all the high-end knife price, which I think is very, very cool. Now, I mentioned that it has relatively, I can speak, watch me go, thin blade stock. Let's find out how thin. We'll come right back here to the thickest point. Of course, we need to be set in the right place. All right. 126 thousandths, which works out to be 3.2 millimeter blade stock, right? Which is reasonably thin. Again, it comes down to a very nice edge. The handle itself at its thickest point is 13 millimeters, which is just at a ½ inch, right? That's part of the reason it's so comfortable, right? It's not thick, but it's not like razor thin either. And so it allows a very solid and positive grip in the hand. I really like that. I really like this knife. I love when small designers and makers push themselves and try new things, and this is all of that, and he has been very successful. The link for this knife will be down in the description, of course. And when White Mountain Knives comes along and releases releases this knife on their website, God, I cannot talk today. I'll come back and actually post the link in the video again. Let's weigh it. Oh, hey, check out the close profile on this thing. It's less than an inch. This is a really nice EDC size pocket knife. All right. Really? There we go. All right, the weight on this thing is 3.5 ounces, right? For a 3.1 inch cutting on, on that blade and this knife. Yeah, for those of you that are really into ounce per inch, it is a little heavy, but this is not heavy. This is a very pocketable knife. And the reason that it is that weight at all is because there is no milling on the inside of these scales. Now, he could have shaved some weight off if he'd have wanted to, but he clearly made the decision that he would rather save himself, and therefore us, a little endgame price than spend the extra time on the milling, and I can't hold that against him. There are very few markings on this knife. The blade itself is exceptionally clean, except for right where it says M390. And the reason I have my flashlight, see if we can get this to show up. They're numbered. Maybe that's going to be too bright. Can you guys see that? Is that gonna? Okay. Just down in here. Well, I just don't think that's going to show up. Maybe. Yeah, you can see it a little bit there. It says Miguron Knives, and this is number 34. Now here's the catch. There are only 200 of these. There are some with red fat carbon, there are some with blue fat carbon, and there's the black version like this one. I'm just going to say it. Don't sleep on this. Now, my guess is these are going to sell well enough that he will eventually make another run, but he's got 5 more knives coming out this year, so these probably wouldn't come out again until next year. So, if you're interested in this knife, and I don't have any idea why you wouldn't be, honestly, go grab one. The link will be in the description. And that's where we're going to go ahead and leave it. This is the Miguron Pagos, a really exceptionally nice knife from the folks at Miguron Knives. These are available now on the Miguron Knives website and on AliExpress, and they will shortly be available over on White Mountain Knives. I hope you've enjoyed this look at it. I know that I've enjoyed having it. This is going to leave me now and go off to join some other channels, which will be great, give them a chance to get a look at it, but eventually this is coming home to me, and that makes me very happy. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.